Hello friends, I am here Krupa Shanker once again with you. We would like to inform you that the content on StudentsRunway.com is exclusively compiled for distribution solely on StudentsRunway.com. You may use the content for personal learning or pass it on to your friends, but please do not use it for any commercial or institutional use without acquiring prior authorization. Any tampering of watermarks of StudentsRunway.com or Krupa Coaching is liable for legal action. This is Krupa signing off. Thank you very much. All the best. Now we will try to understand how this whole new GRE verbal test or the test itself is structured. An overview of the test. So this test will take you 3 hours and 45 minutes with short breaks in between. And then you have AWA, Analytical and Writing Assessment, which is the first thing that you will be dealing with. And this AWA consists of two tasks. One is the issue task, which is the first one, and the other is the argument task, which is the second one. And the scores for the AWA is from 0 to 6 in half-point increments. That means you can get 5.5 or 4 or 4.5. The total score is 6. That is 6 points are awarded. Out of 6 points, your issue response is assessed, and out of 6 points, your argument response is also assessed, and an average of that is your score for the AWA. Now, AWA basically is Analytical and Writing Assessment. One of the tasks, like I already told you, the first one is the issues, which means something like the essay writing that you've done in school, except that the level is slightly higher here, and you will be required to examine various perspectives available, and you are free to agree or disagree, but then it's not so simple, and therefore you will find that most of them are very debatable. Therefore, as a suggestion, I would like to say never fully agree or disagree with anything, because these topics are very debatable. So examine all the various perspectives and develop your position with reasons and examples. Use critical thinking and write convincingly, persuasively. So issues, you are given 30 minutes, you are given a topic, and you got to develop that essay. And when you're developing the essay, remember to examine various possible perspectives, especially the opposite position, and develop this position with reasons and examples. You might ultimately say something like this, that the speaker's position is reasonable, no doubt, but then it cannot be true or accepted in all situations. That means the speaker makes a sweeping generalization. Speaker resorts to overgeneralization, therefore it is not acceptable in toto. The second task that you're dealing with is the arguments, and in the arguments your job is to evaluate someone's argument. Remember, the word argument means an opinion. Someone's opinion on something is presented to you. Your job is to read that very carefully and insightfully evaluate and communicate your response to that in 30 minutes. There's no stipulation on the number of words for both argument and issues, but statistics reveal that students who have turned out lengthy responses get good scores. So it makes sense to write a lengthy response, at least 5 or 6 paragraphs. So when you're coming to the argument, somebody's opinion on something is given. Your job is to read that very carefully and then criticize that, and then say something like, you're not convinced because sufficient evidence is missing, or there are a lot of assumptions which the speaker makes which are not supported by evidence and therefore not convincing. So in an argument, your job is to evaluate the logical soundness of someone's opinion on something. Broadly, look at the evidence given and suggest why that evidence is not sufficient. And the speaker usually makes some kind of a conclusion or recommendation. Your job is to show how that conclusion or recommendation is not convincing because of several gaps in the reasoning and the lack of sufficient evidence. And very often you will find that the assumptions made by the speaker are totally without any justification, and they are not justifiable because sufficient evidence is not available. You must also be keen to observe what is not stated but necessarily follows from whatever is stated. So you draw those inferences and show how those inferences can also be wrong. Broadly, remember, you are not supposed to agree or disagree with anything in the argument. Do not also question the truth of it. Don't say this is wrong. Your job is not to say that something is wrong. Your job is to suggest that it could be wrong or it could be right, but unless sufficient evidence is available, you are not convinced. So, and also do not express your views on the topic. That's not what you are supposed to be doing in an argument. That's what you should do in the issue. Don't express your views on the topic in the argument. Don't agree or disagree. Don't question the truth. Simply evaluate and discuss the logical soundness. And in the new pattern, you're not required to identify logical fallacies. A fallacy is an error in reasoning. In the earlier GRE, students were required to identify logical fallacies. Now you don't have to do that. So that's one big headache which is not there. Your job is to simply use informal reasoning and attack the assumptions, the conclusions, and the recommendations, and suggest that more evidence is necessary for you to be convinced. And when you're writing your argument response, you can and you should use a lot of what you call transitional words. That means phrases like first of all, next, then, finally, however, but, therefore, although, though, despite, in spite, for example, in addition, further. Use as many of these words in both argument and issues, because when you use these words, you are indicating that the thought process is shifting from one level to another. So this is essential. So that's about issues and argument, which constitute the AWA, which is the first part of the test. And the score for AWA is 0 to 6. This is the grade. Grades are assigned and in half-point increments. So here ends our discussion on AWA. We thank you for your interest in Krupa Coaching and StudentsRunway.com. If you find our content useful, please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we hope you give us a +1 on Google. You could also subscribe to our email list and be notified upon new updates. Thank you. This is Krupa Shanker signing off. Good luck.